How's it going? Fox back again. All Ableton part 2 today. This one is going to be showcasing Operator, and it's got some really quirky little features that I'm only just sort of starting to get to grips with. We'll go over that in a bit. Anywho, it's sort of an analogy dubsteppy sequence. I didn't really plan to make any sound, if I'm honest, which I generally do sometimes when I'm just messing around learning synths. I was just playing around with it, messing around with the filters, the envelopes, the different phase settings and the levels and stuff. I came up with this. I've made it with a bit of a dubsteppy sort of beat, and it's sidechained heavily to the kick, but here it is. There you go. As you can see, as I was playing that, I've got some macros assigned to different things, controlling certain parts of the sound, but we'll be going over that in a bit. For now, I'm going to turn everything off. I'm going to turn all of the external processing I've got, which help bring the sound together. We'll go through it stage by stage. Flanger, erosion, auto filter. Yeah, let's solo it. So we'll talk about the operator patch to start with. It's quite a unique routing option that I chose. It's not a bog standard one. This one would normally have C going into B, then being summed together with D, and be all of them together modulating A. I'm not using C. I did try to use it, but it's just a free operator patch. So really, it's just D and B waveforms alongside each other, F, M, and A. The basis for this of A was a saw wave. I set it to the saw 64, so you've got the 64 partials, and I'll just sort of saw wave has a constant sort of slope. If you want, I'll change it. I'll show you the saw 64. You can see it's a lot more smoother than the waveform I have. I just sort of roughed it up ever so slightly just to give it a bit of a gritty edge. The amp envelope is just fully open. The only thing I did was pull the release down. For some reason, the release is always on quite high, so you can hear the notes tailing off when you let go of a MIDI note. So operator A on its own sounds like this, with the filter turned off. I've opposed a bit of spread as well. So as you would imagine, operator is just a saw wave. The spread I put around to 60. I push the tone up to 70% as well. Doesn't really affect the sound that much. We'll then bring B in. This is going to start modulating the sound. The amp envelope for this is fully wide open as well. And we have got it triggering over this repeat function though. It's synced to the clock and it's repeating 1/8, which is sort of an offbeat rhythm. If you set that to trigger. If I was to bring it down to create a plucky sort of sound, you'd hear it repeating over and over again. So at the minute, where the amp envelope is, that sync mode isn't honestly doing anything. Yeah, then I didn't use C. Oh, anyway, this is the fine tune. Does make quite a difference to this actually. This one is just a pure sine wave. It's down 15 dB, so it's not as loud as the initial waveform. The 5 tune, it's on the same course pitch. The fine tune does make quite a difference. That's that pulsing that you're hearing. You're hearing the waveforms move away from each other very, very slowly because it's only a D tune of 5. And you can hear it coming back in at the end of a cycle. Operator D, this one was a square 3, which is just a square wave, and then 2 other intervals. This one I have repeating. This one is synced. The envelope for this has got a definite attack. So If I change the rate of this to something faster. This one was really to destroy the sound and start giving us some cool harmonics, which is exactly what I wanted for the basis of this patch. So you can hear there's some real high elements, real fizzy, real nice and gritty, a bit of movement with a fine tune moving around. This volume is on full, so it's really loud actually. It was really pumping to smash up the A. Of course, it's all on one again, no fine tuning on this. I tried to fine tune on this, but it added too much grit, too much high end. We're then using a low pass filter. It's set to the clean mode. Starting cutoff point at 384 Hertz. So it's a low pass filter. It looks like this. I've got the envelope triggering at 73%. And then I've created this sort of plucky sound for it, and it is also looping. So you can loop the envelopes, the amp envelopes of the operators, and you can also loop the filter envelope. I've got this one looping over 16th notes, so you're going to hear this quite quickly. That's the basis to the whole sound really, this sort of pluck. If I take the loop off, just becomes a pluck in itself. The loop re-triggers this over and over and over to the beat that you had. I had it set to beat, and then you can control it 1/16. I'll talk about this macro knob now. This FED slope. What it is that's this here. You can see I've mapped this macro to the shape of the slope on the envelope. This has a drastic effect because it's the decay time is very short. If I can find it. There, it's only 404 milliseconds. It's only half a second. As we push this out, the envelope's re-triggering before it gets to half that second. So it's not having time to do this 16th note. It's just like bypassing the loop, if you like. So I was using that pretty much as a bypass to the plucky staccato sound. So yeah, the filter was a 24 dB low pass. I did do some drive, but then I didn't. The resonance on 16% for the filter. Nothing crazy going on there. That's virtually it for the operator patch. So it's really quite basic. The spread and the tone have a little. Help the sound widen up before we go into anything else. We then start with the processing. This is where the sound really comes together. So this LFO. So this LFO is something different that I don't normally do. I've set it to a triangle rate. I've got the LFO on the filter. It's just a clean filter, low pass 24 dB. No envelope going on. What you can hear is an LFO, and it's set to a third rate. So it's an off beat compared to the 8th notes. It gives us that pulsing feel. I mean, with the beat of the drums. It was like a triplet sort of swing with the LFO. I say the amount is set to 16.4. If I close that down so you can see what I'm doing. The amount is set to 16.4. I set it to beats and the rate is 1/3. The frequency I had quite high. If you do it lower, really quite deep. So I had it open a lot. I set it around about 1000 Hertz, so all of the bass and everything was going through. It was just flicking the heights in. I then brought the erosion in. This is linked to the distort knob. If we go to the mapping in this, I am modulating the frequency of the erosion and the amount of the erosion. So if we close the filter down, look at the erosion as I pull this distort knob around. The dry wet's going in and it's pushing the amount up towards the centre. So gives us that watery sort of swirl sound. Then is the flanger. Turn the erosion off. The flanger, I've just mapped the dry wet I set the frequencies and everything where I wanted it. So helping to increase the volume and give it a slight metallic edge when mixed with the erosion. You can really see the flanger working. The rate of the LFO is set to 12 notes, so it's off beat again. Yeah, didn't really do anything else. The flanger. Then the OTT. This is what increases the volumes and bring it all together. This is a real cool preset in the Ableton Audio Effects Multiband Dynamics OTT. It's classed as over the top. So it emphasises everything. I don't know whether I did anything actually. I think I literally just turned it on. Oh, I think I've increased the output. I've increased the output of the lows. Turn the distortion off. Then just a simple bit of EQing. It's the sub boost and then boosting it around 900 hertz, which is around about the end of this auto filter. So just accentuating the point at where that LFO is flicking backwards and forwards. Then I use the saturator. This is going to increase the volume quite a bit. Medium curve. I wanted some quite severe distortion here. The drive wet I was set to 79.4. Again, the drive knob is mapped to the macro. As we increase the distortion round, you can see the drive knob increasing. Not much, just 5 dBs. It really does accentuate the erosion because you've got the erosion and the flanger before the OTT, which is boosting all the high frequencies of that. When you then introduce this saturator after that, it really gives you quite a drastic. Really brings out the metallic aspects of the erosion and the flanger. So we'll close that saturator. Then it was a ping pong delay. Quite subtle, dry wet of 11%, feedback of 20%. Wasn't really doing that much. I set it to 1/8, which is the same rate as the envelope's recycling inside operator. So it was sort of pinging with those. Again, not much. And then a bit of compression just to bring it all together at the end. A lot of compression. I mean, I would probably, if it was me, duplicate this chain. Highlight these effects, drag those onto the first one, if we can do that. Oh, they're already on the first one. And then what I would probably do in this instance is delete the effects off. So in the chain you've got the operator on that one. In this chain, I would probably just bring in an analog just to reinforce the lows. Let's try this on the fly, see how it does it. So same signal going in, going out, it's all going to be side chained at the end. The operator's doing all that crazy shit, and then we've just brought an analog in. Change this one to a sine wave. So just reinforcing the lows. They're getting side chained as well. I would probably put an EQ8 onto the analog. Maybe a bit of overdrive. That clicking's from the side chain, you don't hear that when everything's all in. So now if we bring back in the operator patch as well. reinforcing the lows, beefing up the low end. So as in all of these, all Ableton, this effects rack, let's call this, rename, let's call this an operator sequence. So yeah, this is available to download for free. You can pick it to bits, do whatever you want. This whole chain, the instrument rack. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you like this or any of my other tutorials. A lot more of these Ableton, all Ableton tutorials to come. Yeah, check me out on Facebook and Google Plus is Sound Design Tutorials. Instagram is Sound Design Tutorials. Twitter is @SoundDesignTuts. Okay, as always, thanks for watching. Cheers.